morning. Good morning to you all, and welcome and thank you for coming to our band camp performance. A little performance kind of showcase what they've done in these 8 days. It's a little bit different this year since we're one day less than in the past, but the kids have done a nice job. They've worked really hard, so hopefully you're seeing a little bit of that progression at home as they've been practicing this last week and a half or so. And if they haven't, and they're playing all the songs that are recognizable, that's good. But we'll definitely encourage them to continue to practice as things get harder for them. So my name is Ryan Clark, and I am the site manager, coordinator, whatever you want to title that as. Just kind of help make sure things were set up. Got this set up so that when the kids came, I was ready to go. If there were instruments that broke, or if there was things that families needed, or kids needed, teachers needed, then I was there. So even moving forward, if there's questions you have, feel free to email me or your middle school's teacher, and that would be great. So to introduce everybody, Mr. Dosovic, I'm not sure where he is. He's in the back over there. He taught flutes, so he had all of our flute players. Mr. Tafelmeyer taught our clarinet section. Mr. Augustat, down here in the front, he had our oboes and our tubas. Mrs. Halverson and Mr. Erie taught our saxophones, so all that big group. Mr. Flores, Mrs. Grewatts, they had our trumpets, and then some of the other trumpets and our horn, Mrs. Hool had. So right back there. Mr. Stordalen, he had our trombones and our euphoniums, so worked with them throughout these days. Mr. Stockard and Mr. Harold, they were the leaders of our percussion section and all the various multiple things that they do. And Mrs. Stordalen and Mr. Bales, they taught our theory class. So when the kids needed a little bit of a break, because sometimes it gets to be a lot physically playing, especially right away, they'd go to theory, and then they would work on music reinforcement and things like that. So that was kind of how the week went, or the 8 days, I should say, how that went as we go along. So we're gonna get things started with kind of where and the progression of how things went. So at the beginning, put their instruments together, figured out what it was like, which end to blow in for our wind players, and then we played our first note. And oddly enough, it did not sound like that the first time, so they have come a long way. So then we continued to learn notes, and it got into 3 notes. So in our next little exercise, moving on up. Like you said, they would go to theory class, they would work on their instrument, they'd work on all those things to get that good foundation on how to play their instrument. And then they continued learning a couple of notes and got to the point in the book where the book does not tell them what the name of the note is. The book makes them read the note. So they have to kind of start to remember where it is, what note I push down, and all of these things all at once. So our next one, they start reading the notes. So our next little exercise, first flight. So you'll notice our percussion section as they go through, they're playing our mallets and our snare drum, as both are super important. A lot of times the mallet becomes the one that gets pushed aside because it's harder and it takes more work, but we really try to encourage them early on. Learn that mallet so it makes life easier as you go through your instrumental music career. So here we go with first flight. Yeah, and they're starting to learn other skills, like so repeat signs within their music. What do we do with that, and some of these other musical concepts? As they start flipping the page, you'll see all of them flipping the page. So we've gotten through the first couple pages. Now we're getting into a couple of more familiar tunes to us all. Here is Rolling Along. You'll recognize it by a different name. So yes, hopefully you all recognize that by that different name, and if you did, hopefully it was Marionette Little Lamb, and that's a good thing when we can recognize the tunes. So good work, kids. All right, now we have Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Oh, sorry, hot cross buns, got ahead. Already moving you guys along, sorry. Now we have Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Thank you. So this large group, this is one where they'll spend most of their time as they go through their instrumental career within this while they're at school. But here at camp, this is probably a small part of it. And what we did is we went along. Most of that first week, they were just in their classes or with their like instrument. The end of the week for the wind players, not percussionists, but all the brass and woodwinds, we separated them for a couple of days so they could kind of get used to playing with more instruments than just their instrument. And then on Monday, so 2 days ago, we put them in this setting. So they had Monday in this setting, yesterday, and then a little bit today to kind of figure out what it's like to play with all these other instruments Even though some things are the same, sometimes it's a little bit different and sometimes weird. So this is about the third day that they've been in this setting and really done a nice job. So we have this piece kind of feature those sections. So this is listen to our sections. And that one, you'll notice, is a hard one because they have to wait. Patience is not always the thing on our minds in 6th grade, but that's one thing that those rests are important as those sounding notes. So got a couple more for you. This next one is a little march called March Steps. We have one final selection, but before that, if you could help me give the staff, the people who taught the kids in their instrument group and theory, if you could give them a round of applause. So thank you, colleagues, thank you, staff, for all your hard work. I'd just like to thank the Simle, the staff here at Simle, their flexibility. It's moving in, getting in classrooms, and they're getting ready because we start school tomorrow as far as teachers and staff. So kind of juggling some of that and not in their way, but their flexibility is really appreciated. Eckroth Music for all of their work. I mean, that's par for the course, right? Rain comes and furies, and then keeps going. Lights, it's all good, right? Eckroth Music for all of their help in bringing instruments and all of that that they do to help us throughout the school year. Tony Flatlin, Nicole Fitzgerald, kind of on the district side of things with our fine arts. And more importantly, probably, students, thank you for your work. Families, thank you for these students. Thank you for getting them the stuff that they need, getting them here, doing all of those things as we move through this. Please help us. Please help us to continue to encourage them to practice. And it's okay to do that. I know sometimes they don't want to listen to us or want to practice. It's okay to bug them. Just like a homework, a little bit every single day goes a long way to helping them, just like studying or doing any of those other activities, whether it's a sports-related item. All of that needs the frequency of practice and playing. So if you please would help us and by helping them kind of find that space and reminding and encouraging them to do that, that will really help them as they move through their music career. Just a couple of school notes. So all 3 middle schools on the first day of middle school, do not bring your instrument to school on those first 3 days of school. Okay, let that sink in. Do not bring those to school next Wednesday. Especially 6th graders, but everybody has enough to bring that first day. It's chaotic. The biggest thing in our music rooms is where they're gonna put it. Those things haven't been assigned yet. So don't bring your instrument the first day. Got it? Okay. And side note there, don't bring them to open house. So I know if open house is tomorrow, don't bring them tomorrow to open house either. Don't bring them then. Okay. And if you have an older sibling, they shouldn't bring it either if they're in middle school. Okay. 6th grade, got it? Sung Payton, remember that? Don't forget, don't forget. Probably famous last words on that one, right? One more tune for you, a little bit longer than most of the other ones. It's entitled Lightly Row. And while Mr. Augustad is making his way up here to play that, just another thank you. Thank you for being here. I know the weather's not being very friendly to us right now, but thank you very much for taking this time to be here with us. So, Lightly Row.